Welcome to another session of the prerequisites for DevOps. And today we are going to understand a key technology or a service that is present, and we are going to understand what it does. And this particular key technology is nothing but Terraform. Okay. So, what role does Terraform play in DevOps? We will try to understand this one in a few seconds video, a few minutes video for that matter. So first of all, what is Terraform? Why do we use it? What is the purpose of it? And what's the use of it? Let's see that section now. The three main points that we can remember with respect to Terraform or how Terraform works is it deals with infrastructure as code. That is, it helps you to deliver the infrastructure as code. Now, what do I mean by infrastructure as code? I'll give you a simple example. Let us say that you want to spin up an EC2 instance in the AWS console. You already know a few ways to do it. One is using the AWS console. You can go and spin it up, or you can choose to basically use your AWS CLI to spin this EC2 instance. The third way is to use Boto3. But what if there are changes in this instance that someone else does? You never know if somebody else made a change on this instance. That is, if somebody increased the volume, somebody added new tags. In such cases, it is very hard to define. If you imagine this in a very big organization where they handle hundreds of resources in AWS, it becomes tricky if you are just relying on the AWS console. So what Terraform does for you, it allows you to write the infrastructure, that is the EC2 instance, in a code format in which Terraform uses what is known as HashiCorp configuration language to write a code which is readable. And when you deploy this code, Terraform is going to connect with AWS and spin up your resources. Now, this will help you to majorly understand and read configuration files and provide a way of understanding how the infrastructure is built. Now, Terraform follows three different steps to do it, and we are going to understand what it is in our course, which you can take up, which will be Terraform deep dive sessions, where we will discuss in depth on how to use Terraform to spin up AWS services, etc. But most importantly, if you spin up a resource with Terraform in AWS, that is, let's say, an EC2 instance, and if somebody else makes a change, and the next time you apply Terraform, it is going to break it and it's going to rebuild this resource, which means that you're controlling the AWS resources via the code, which is what every company wants to do. So that once you have the code, you can determine who made the changes in the code. You can also understand what were the history of this code, who made all of these changes, which every single company requires to track and develop itself and increase their platform. Now, what are these three steps in Terraform? The three main steps in the Terraform is nothing but Terraform plan, Terraform apply, and then manage your infra as code. So when you write a Terraform code, a simple Terraform code, before you deploy this code, or let's say apply this code to AWS, you can run something called as Terraform plan. This Terraform plan will show you what it will do. What it will do means what Terraform will do. It will show you that, okay, this Terraform file that you have given me, I will create an EC2 instance. This Terraform file that you have given me, I'm going to create security groups. This Terraform file that you have given me, I'm going to create auto-scaling group. So Terraform plan basically is helping you to tell you that once you apply, what will be provisioned. So it is like, a pre-show that is telling that, okay, I'm going to do this. So it is going to be helpful when you're building up resources. And once you have determined that everything looks good, then you apply Terraform, which means now you're applying your code as infrastructure or infrastructure as code to AWS. And then it will deploy the resources into AWS. Now, once that is done, all you have to continue doing is managing your code. In future, if you want to make any changes on this EC2 instance, you will have to manage it in your code and not do it from console. If you want to change this instance from T2 to M3, T2 to R4, you have to do it from the code. If you have to change the volume, do it from the code. If you want to open a port, do it from the code. If you want to add a tag, do it from the code. This will allow you to manage the whole infrastructure from the code. And these three steps are important when you use Terraform in a company. Now, when you're using Terraform, it is not just for one resource, but you can one cloud provider, you can do it for any cloud provider. But let us see how it goes. Now, once you have your Terraform code, you can see this is the starting line. You have some practitioners, you have some community who will build some module that is a reusable code, but you can also write some infrastructure as code. And then you apply, then you run the plan of your code to see if everything looks good. Then you apply the code. And based on your cloud provider, let's say if it is AWS, it is going to provision your infrastructure. Okay. So this is the process it is going to follow. Now, what is Terraform module? Let us say that there are some constant repetitive codes that you're writing. So communities can come up with their own module, which will help you to reduce your code and refer their module to spin up particular resources. With this process, every company now can manage their cloud provider or a service provider using code. And this itself is nothing but Terraform. Now, are there any other infrastructure as code that is available today? There are a few, but nothing has yet beaten Terraform. There is no yet a clear winner at this stage for overcoming Terraform, or that is as good as Terraform, in other words. So that is why learning Terraform will provide you the biggest benefit with DevOps. As a DevOps engineer, Terraform will play a big role for you in your company. So usually if you're taking up Terraform, it is going to take up to 10 to 13 hours to go through the basics and a bit of advanced for us to understand how it is done. And this will play a big role for you for sure in DevOps. So I hope you have understood now what role does Terraform play in the DevOps world, where it is getting used, what is it doing, what is the purpose of it. If you're interested in this course, feel free to reach us out and we'll be happy to discuss further requirements with you. Thanks for joining this session. Meet you with other DevOps prerequisite videos. Bye.